Fortnite's officially kicking off global prep for the live event in Season 2. Watch this video to the very end to find out about all the new locations, what the teasers are hiding, that secret story cinematic, and exactly when the final event is going down. First thing you notice is the loading screen when you boot up. Fortnite has switched to the new one we saw for the first time recently. You can peep some background locations in it, which everyone thinks will show up in the next season. Though I'd bet my bottom dollar we're getting way more than what Fortnite is showing us. In fact, another new area I'm banking on is connected to this week's story missions, which literally just started 2 days ago, starring Hope. The coolest part is the very first mission. You have to visit this zone to build a base for the elite faction to help the Seven fight the last reality. This is the same deal we had last week with the Visitor, who needed help creating a base for the Seven that was supposed to be in the game today. But, like I said before, Season 2 was supposed to start on Thursday, and instead they dropped this patch to keep content flowing for the last 2 weeks, so we should definitely be seeing this Seven-themed location in Season 2. Let's circle back to the elite faction because this is where it gets interesting. Right now, it's a super small squad of characters, with only Zaddy, Daigo, and this Moth character confirmed. Besides sharing the elite name, they all have a competitive style uniform, like a tactical suit. So, it's pretty much a given that Season 2 will bring in new members to the crew. What's for sure is that there'll be old skins getting a refresh, just like the others, with that tactical clothing vibe. And honestly, another thing that would be absolutely fire and makes total sense is if we could get the new skins for free, like how it went with Daigo in a tournament, and Zaddy in some reload quests. Speaking of Daigo, he's never actually been in the shop, so these quests make me think he'll finally show up next season. Plus, it makes sense that this new area would get a new NPC. I think Daigo would be the best fit since he was a major character in the last chapter, and he could be the one to tell us who the elite are and how they join the group. Honestly, even though this content might have been a total last-minute job, it's super cool that they're trying to bring a new squad into this war. I've been saying in my story videos that this could be the epic Chapter 7 final event, where all the good Fortnite teams square off against the villain teams. We got a small taste of this in the Valentine's Day trailer, where we saw the Ice King teaming up with the Dark Voyager for the first time. Regardless, one thing is 100% confirmed. The story gets better every single week. We also know that Season 2 is kicking off on March 19th, and today's update revealed that the season is scheduled to end on June 6th, making it less than 80 days long. At the same time, the latest update for Season 1 finally dropped, and even though this thing shouldn't even exist, it's packed way more heat than anyone expected. Get this patch was totally unscheduled, basically just bonus content so we don't end up bone dry for the last 2 weeks of the season. You see, if you're out of the loop, the season was supposed to wrap up last Thursday, but they pushed it back, straight up extending the fun until March 19th. Either way, we're getting new stuff until that day, especially in the item shop, which is business as usual. Fortnite has already spilled the tea on the next few shop rotations, and as always, I can also give you a peek at the skins dropping in the next shop, since we're getting a fresh Rick and Morty collab. Kicking things off, we have Rick Prime, who's rocking this backpack, a pickaxe that's absolutely bonkers, and even a sick emote. Then there's Pickle Rick, no cap, who's got this awesome rat style, his own backpack, and some dual pickaxes. On top of that, we're getting 2 sidekicks, like this one with its own emote. Moving on with the shop skins, we gotta fast forward to today, when the new Lantern Festival skin will drop, which, for the record, comes with some seriously weird shoes. Since a lot of the other gear is locked down, I can at least show you 2 wraps that are going to be rolling out over the next couple of weeks. Like I said, the juiciest stuff right now is totally encrypted. We've got 5 total packs in the game that we can't peep right now. I'm just spitballing here, but I figure 2 of them are the Hoppers collab and the 3rd wave of Rick and Morty stuff I just showed you. That leaves 3 hidden packs, and a bunch of leakers are saying one of them could be a bundle for the VTuber. As for cosmetics, we're not just getting new heat, but also some classics making a comeback, like the Ferrari collab and its car. Then there's the Gorillaz collab. You know they had a festival pass a few months back, and now both the skins that were in the shop and the ones from the pass are slated to return soon. The Resident Evil collab dropped a while ago, and everyone was scratching their heads about why the classic skins from that game weren't back. But then Fortnite put out a short video starring Leon Kennedy a few days later. Everyone took that as a sign he'd be back in the shop soon, though we don't have a confirmation on that, not even close. In fact, the leaker mentioned that today's data didn't include the files for his return, but that doesn't mean they can't throw them in at any time. Another thing that I bet is coming back, it just makes sense, is the Mordecai emote. When it first came out, the sound was only at the beginning, but now they've fixed it, and the sound plays the whole time. While the cosmetics are definitely the main event of this update, Fortnite low-key reworked the loot pool. We're getting these last 2 weeks of the season with something special they're calling Wild Weeks. The first week is bringing back a bunch of OG weapons, including the Scar, shotgun, balloons, and the pump shotgun. And for the record, almost all of them will be available in every rarity, from Grey to Legendary. On the flip side, they yanked a few weapons out of the main Battle Royale, specifically the rifle, the sniper rifle, and the shotgun. Plus, we're getting special weekend events, specifically on the 7th and 8th, called Power Hour, where all matches will start you off with the 7 cannon and the revive mechanic. We'll also have supercharged XP during those hours. For week 2, which is finally the end of the season, we're getting massive sales starting March 12th, where we'll see an increase in the amount of gold we get in matches, and we'll get premium vending machines selling a lot more stuff. Speaking of the week 2 event, we're getting 2 more power hours with supercharged XP, and all our storms will be shaped like a number 7, along with the Gold Fever anomaly, as long as the first storm circle closes. And if that wasn't enough, we're also getting more legendary points of interest, which are the spots where mythic chests show up, plus the ability to redeploy the glider. The final tweak to the loot is with the assault rifle, and even the scoped assault rifle they just vaulted in this patch. Get this. Either of these 2 guns will have bullet drop at distances over 100 meters. But honestly, the event isn't even the main thing. What we're all actually dying for is for Season 2 to just get here already. But as it turns out, the story is way more complex than it looks. Chapter 7 has undoubtedly pushed the Fortnite storyline to the very top by introducing 2 new members of the Last Reality. We have 3 Zero shards hidden on the island, a mysterious eye connected to the Nothing, the Looper's Calendar, Dr. Sloan, and the return of the most beloved character in the Fortnite universe. However, all of this might not matter, because Dark Voyager has already begun conquering other worlds, making these current events the most important in the entire history of Fortnite. Even before Chapter 7 started, on November 27th, Epic Games co-founder Mark Rain gave us one word to describe the new chapter: dodecahedron. This refers to a 12-sided 3D shape. While most people claim this is related to the Las Vegas sphere and its recreation on the Sandy Strip, in my opinion, it is connected to the Last Reality. Since a dodecahedron is one of the 5 platonic solids, and the Last Reality bases their logos and objects on cubes, this theory holds water. It connects perfectly with Classified Canyon, where the triangle layout matches the Last Reality's logo impeccably. At that very location, we can find a board featuring Agent Jones, Voyager's ship, aliens, a massive UFO, and Peely marked with a circle. Remember that detail well, because he is very significant to the Chapter 7 story. The same goes for the Looper's Calendar, which appeared on the Humble Hills for unexplained reasons. We first saw it in Chapter 4, Season 4, when Cato Thorne possessed this very intriguing item. We do not know much about it, but it depicts the loop, and the crown placed in the center symbolizes the 0 point. We do not know exactly why this calendar ended up in Chapter 7, but it contains the symbols of all members of the 7 except for the sisters. But what does that mean? We know the Order is on the island in our new reality, and according to the latest info, the Imagined did not actually die. What if the Imagined, just like Gino, reformed herself? It seems Gino might have resurrected her because he loves his daughters, even if he does not know how to show it. The Foundation is in a similar situation. This state of affairs is suggested by a seemingly insignificant loading screen of Valeria from Chapter 5, as its initial version showed a plan to restore the Order and the Foundation. However, Epic Games changed this at the last minute. Returning to the calendar topic, it clearly indicates that Lethal Labs is the work of the Imagined Order. A special role in this puzzle is played by Karina, an island resident, who openly speaks about her investigation into labs. She mentions that their servers contain a ton of censored files and references to the 7 and the 0 reality. It is very sketchy that a huge underground lab is using last reality technology. Their knowledge is way too advanced for ordinary people, and the lab is operating secretly even though it looks abandoned. There is a facility in the desert that is not as deserted as they claim. In the classified labs files, there is frequent talk of different realities, and the 7 are constantly mentioned. The 7 and the last reality return to Chapter 7 at the start, so the only group missing is the imagined order. In her first voice log, the Order said something extremely intriguing about the storm. The problem is that in Chapters 5 and 6, the storm was completely stable. The only people we know who can manipulate the storm are the imagined order. Does that not seem a little suspicious to you? Chapter 7 is now the third chapter in a row where the return of Dr. Sloan is teased, so let's hope Epic finally decides to bring her back at some point. Moreover, banners, symbols, and objects with the characteristic cube shape of the last reality have appeared everywhere at the former lethal lab location. I am starting to believe this symbolizes the Eye of the Nothing that watches everything. As the leaker Blorson reported, the golden cube in Voyager's ship is named Eye in the game files. My theory might be further confirmed by the loading screen of a member of the Nothing, which focuses mainly on eyes. The all-seeing eye is a symbol of an eye surrounded by rays of light or glory, usually enclosed in a triangle. And what does the Chapter 7 island focus on? Mainly on triangles in the form of the bunker in the desert or the storm taking that exact shape. Not to mention that all around Classified Canyon, we can find signs with eyes watching our every step. Let's go back for a moment to Chapter 6, Season 1, because the Battle Pass included a emote called Watch Closely, illustrating a red eye surrounded by rays of light. It clearly alludes to the Classified Canyon location, convincing me that Zone 7 in Fortnite must have belonged to Gino and the Imagined Order for a long time. It is evidently a place where they could fully observe the Nothing and understand how to fight against it. Staying on the topic of the canyon, Fortnite now allows us to open a door inside Zone 07. This is called activating the escape vortex, which is filled with glitch effects. When we do this, the great circle of the canyon triangle opens up, and it looks epic, although it gives me slight déjà vu of the moment Jones decided to seal the bridge and stabilize the 0 point using kinetic ore panels. Subsequently, the 0 point transported itself to the Fortnite island, taking Jonesy with it. This leads us to the conclusion that the next 0 shard must be located in Classified Canyon. The Order indicated in early voice logs that initial scans showed a high concentration of 0 point energy on the Gold Coast, and game files confirmed that 2 other shards are located somewhere else. To find out where, let's look at the Dark Discoveries loading screen, where Dark Voyager seems to be tracking 3 objects on the island, likely being the 0 shards in the current reality 266. A lot of information is revealed by another loading screen called Karina's Investigation. Given that she and Hope are pointing at Voyager's ship extracting 2 hidden 0 shards using a grabber placed underneath, if I am right, this would mean one of the shards is hidden in the desert in Classified Canyon. Think about it. A gigantic, abandoned underground complex with tons of locked doors is located in the middle of the desert. It stores artifacts of the last reality and massive amounts of a mysterious substance that causes objects to vanish. It would be the perfect place to lock a 0 shard deep underground. However, regarding the second missing shard, the surest bet seems to be the giant diamond on the sandy strip, creating a neat triangle between the 3 elements. Since we are on the topic of the 0 point, leakers have noticed a new vault design in the game files that looks almost identical to the one from Chapter 1. It is easy to guess that it will replace Lethal Labs at the end of the season, since it shares the same staircase design the developers used near the 0 shard. Consequently, the 0 point will soon be restored and renewed. This vault might also be the work of the 7 and Midas, who are once again trying to lock the 0 point in a safe place after realizing that releasing it means an even bigger catastrophe. The Midas storyline is particularly interesting here because, as you remember, in the last chapter, he planned to move the 0 shard to the vault with Hope, which ultimately failed. And as we remember, Midas is someone who loves to appear every second season of the chapter, so it's no wonder that in the next season, once the 0 point is restored, Midas will come into play again. But let's switch gears to Season 2. With only a few weeks left, it's only natural to ask the big question: what's coming next? Even though we still have 2 updates before the season launches, the community is already focused on 2 things: how this season ends and what the next season is really about. Those questions are impossible to ignore. I've talked before about my theory around the Dark Voyager and where his story could be heading, but now it's time to zoom out and connect the dots. Because if the clues are pointing where I think they are, we're about to crash straight into a reality filled with Norse gods, ancient rituals, and something much bigger than anything we've dealt with lately. Before we can predict the full storyline of Season 2, we need to understand how the current season, Pacific Break, is likely to wrap up. At this point, I'm almost sure we're getting an event. Maybe not a massive end of chapter spectacle, but at least something on the level of a mini-event, similar to the Chapter 5 Season 1 Pandora's Box moment. A quiet ending just wouldn't fit the pace we're seeing. Look at how fast the Dark Voyager plot has moved. In just a short time, he's gone from hovering over the island to focusing on the 0-point shard, opening a rift, disappearing, and reshaping the lab area. That is a lot of major story movement in a tight window. When you compare that tempo to the Cube Queen storyline, it becomes obvious that Fortnite is building the same level of danger in far less time. And when Fortnite accelerates the narrative like this, it usually means one thing: a climax is coming. The story isn't going to just fade out. I think the final event will mirror the structure of the Chapter 5 Season 1 finale, but with a completely different purpose. This time, the Dark Voyager's focus will be the 0-point shards, and I believe his disappearance wasn't random at all. Fortnite has been showing us that he's more than a villain with a spaceship. He's a voyager between realities, and his mission is to gather the 0-point fragments scattered across different worlds and fuse them back together. Leaks have been hinting that the rifts tied to this storyline aren't all the same. The realities inside them have different colors, and there are 4 in total. To me, that feels like intentional foreshadowing. Each color likely represents a different reality, and each reality could set the tone for what comes next. Not just one season, but the roadmap for several seasons ahead. So why would he do any of this? The most likely answer is that he's doing it in the name of the last reality. And honestly, I don't think there's any doubt we'll see the last reality return in this chapter. Skins Survey have already been circulating that show crown wearing characters who visually echo the Cube Queen, but with a totally different design language. One of them looks chaotic and even has chrome-like elements, which feels less like coincidence and more like a warning.